Honestly might even be silly for me to say this, but I just feel like not everybody is skinny and not everybody needs to be skinny. And I don't think that everybody is supposed to be skinny, right? Thinness has always been associated with this sort of like but in other cultures, right, outside of Western society, thinness is actually associated with illness and malnutrition. So it's really interesting, right? When you think about it within our Western society, how we sort of normalize the sense of thinness, and we look at it and we say, hey, this is the idealized versions and standards of beauty, which in other parts of the world, right, this obsession, right, this thinness is actually associated with illness. And so I don't think that everybody is supposed to be skinny. I was looking at content creators who, I think look healthy and they eat very nutritious meals and they cook or whatever, right? And I'm, taken back to hear that these content creators who may not have this sort of like, certain type of like proportion or, ratio with their body or their waistline, right? And they're like, I'm on a weight loss journey. And it's like, wow, we're just going to have a bunch of people who are just very thin. And as someone, who is a mother and is someone who is so focused on health and just being healthy, right, and eating healthy, it's been a huge shift, right? Obviously, it's just genetics for me, but at the same time, gaining weight and all of it is just like I'm healthy and I'm okay with that, and I don't care. I don't ever want to go back. You know what I mean? And looking back over my life, I was very, intrigued because I'm like, I don't even think I was eating. I was unhealthy, right? Because I was so stressed out and I was anxious and I was worried about all these different things in my 20s, right? As this young woman. And so my thinness really wasn't this fashionable, thing to be idolized. It was really me being so incredibly anxious. My stomach was, always in knots at just being young and, whatever else, right? This is what a lot of young people and young women experience today, these levels of uncertainty, right? And so I think you could still acken it to illness. And so it's just interesting to kind of see that. And then we have the GLP-1s, we have the awareness of, certain dieting that, leads a lot of women to, bulimia, right? And all these other things that are associated with it. And so it's really sad. Obviously obesity is one thing, but I do think the opposite end of that, right, is thinness, which I think is illness. And I think we're just kind of shifting extremities.